Hello and welcome to What's the Point? Alumni Conversations with the Office of Alumni Engagement and Giving at Point Park University. Here we like to have conversations about life, career, life after graduation, and career advice and tips. On that topic of career advice and tips and life after graduation, we have a wonderful alumni guest with us today. So if you could please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, Point Park. My name is Emily Bezak. I graduated from Point Park in 2010 from the business school. And I'm also a board member on the Alumni Association's board of directors. So I'm really excited to be here. And we're going to be talking about writing.
All right, so this is a little bit of a coffee style chat. So we've got some questions for Emily, and we hopefully will cover a wide range of topics. And I'm very excited to kind of get started. Emily, one of the questions I've been asking folks as part of these interviews is more of a fun question. So what is a hobby that you recently have picked up either during all of the COVID-19 stuff, or maybe a hobby that you have now allocated some time to that maybe you had not had some time for previously that you've been doing?
Well, I've always been a fan of baking. My mom didn't like baking, so I was always the baker in the family. And, I've been working from home now. It'll be 3 months at the end of this week. And
Wow.
So in that time, I've been able to try a bunch of different recipes. We're not going to the grocery store or restaurants as often. So got to make a dessert if I want something sweet. So I've been experimenting with new recipes too that, kind of take a little bit more time than, something that I would whip up over the weekend, in normal times. So I really enjoy doing that.
Emily, I know that you are a wonderful writer, but if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your experience writing and telling us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and kind of give us the summary.
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, I graduated from Point Park in 2010. I moved here from Central PA in 2006, and I've been here ever since. I also got my MBA from Pitt in 2016. And right now, my life is kind of a double life. I have a full-time job in marketing for Wesco International. It's in Station Square, and it is a Fortune 500 company, soon to be a Fortune 200 company because we're approaching a merger.
Wow.
Amid all of this, I'm the digital marketing project manager for the company. So I manage all of the projects, marketing campaigns, and all of that involve anything digital. So email, social media, blog posts, and website content. And that includes all of our business partners in the US and Canada, as well as our subsidiary businesses. So that is my day job. My night job, I actually, sometimes after work, I take a nap and then wake up late at night and start my second shift, as I call it. I'm a freelance writer and marketing consultant. And I have been doing that even since I was at Point Park. So while I was in school, I had some freelance clients. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd find them on Craigslist. I remember I wrote I think it was like a website build for some company, and they had like 30 or 40 web pages, and I worked on that while I was in school.
Wow.
And now, so many years later, and with so much more experience, I don't know how I did it, but and also I'm sure the budget wasn't what I would charge now, but I was given really cool experience while I was at Point Park to be able to have these side projects, and it's kind of carried over into my working life, I guess. And then also, so I volunteer. Like I said, I'm on the Point Park's Alumni Board of Directors. That's how I know you, Megan. And I manage the social media for TEDx Pittsburgh. I actually just hopped off a call with them. We're planning what to do because our event was supposed to be this month at the Buy-In Theater, and obviously that's not happening anymore. So we're talking about virtual events in the fall, maybe some smaller events throughout the year. and creating some more virtual content and experiences, just to keep the ideas alive and spreading in our community, even though we're all, at home. Not everybody, but most people are.
Well, and so one, I was so glad to talk to you and that you were willing to chat with us today, because you have such a unique kind of profile of experiences. And I think you really, really demonstrate like how that's it's like very unique, but also very Point Park to kind of have like a number of really cool opportunities that you're working on. So I love that you can speak to like that gig life, so to speak. If you could think of, do you have maybe a favorite memory or experience from your time as a student at Point Park?
I have quite a few. One thing that I really love now that, I'm working so much and my friends are like deeper into their careers and their families and have children and all of that, we're not getting together as often. But the one thing that I really loved about Point Park is I made some of the best friends of my life. We were in each other's weddings. We went to each other's bachelorette parties or baby showers or, any of that stuff. And even if we don't live in the same area anymore or even have like the same schedule, even if we're in Pittsburgh and we still can only see each other once every couple of months, those bonds kind of last forever. And I owe that to Point Park. But then professionally, one of the reasons I chose Point Park was because, well, scholarships and that sort of thing. But I remember when I was in high school, I got invited to a journalism workshop that Helen Fallon was leading. And so my junior year of high school, I actually got to live in Pittsburgh for a week on campus in the summer. And, we were given an assignment and we created a newspaper at the end of the week and had guest speakers from the Post-Gazette and the Trib and other friends of, the journalism professors here at Point Park. And that was my first taste, because once I got to Point Park and started taking classes, that's what class was like. We would be in class and the professor would say, Bill Mushi would say, hey, there's something happening at the city county building or in Market Square, and we're going to go and cover it. And we would go to the event and we would cover it. And then the next day he, send me your copy by 5 was always the rule. And it gave me a taste of like the real world, but it was also so cool because we could just do that. We could just walk up to Market Square and, the news was happening and we could take part in it. It was a really, really cool experience. There weren't specific ones because it happened pretty frequently, but I just love that about Point Park and, the journalism school, but then also, we would have similar experiences in the business school as well. So like experiential learning is alive and well at Point Park. There are some friends of mine that have gone to other schools and I might be biased because I'm a Point Park grad, but the first time they're writing copy for something is their first day on the job. And you work out the kinks a little bit earlier at Point Park, I think. Over time, my skills developed because, I made a point in my education to have those classes and have those experiences. You don't necessarily have to be a journalism major to be a writer, or, be a newspaper writer or reporter to write every day in your job. And that was one lesson that I've learned only recently in the past couple of years, that, writing, I really love it. And why not do it? I can just start. And that's kind of what I did in the last couple of years. So I've always been freelancing. But just in the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've really doubled down and made it intentional. Like, I'm going to write in my spare time just because I love it.
Well, that leads perfectly to what I was going to ask you about next, which is Emily Bezak writes. I know that's what you kind of, I think that's your, is that is company name the correct terminology, or your organizational name? But that's really been from what you've just shared, the venue to giving you a lot of the time to write every day.
Right. Yeah. So Emily Bezak Writes just came from just trying to figure out what I wanted to call my business. So in January, I applied all my business school knowledge and made my freelance income a business. I filed it as an LLC. I hired my first employee, who is also a Point Park student. And then also, I wanted to get people to start finding me without me having to go out and find them or call them or send cold emails or whatever. I wanted, so I turned it was basically my online resume into a website, emilybezak.com. And I started a blog for Emily Bezak Writes, and I put out my own content, and that's kind of how I'm growing my audience to hopefully be able to write more.
You can speak so wonderfully to something that I think a lot of alumni can relate to, which is that gig life or working freelance roles. So what advice do you have for other alumni that are working freelance experiences? And talk to us a little bit about like your experiences and how, I know you've shared some, but like, how do you approach that, and how would you suggest others do as well?
Yeah, so good question. I think especially now as companies are moving to remote work, I know that in my own day job, there have been a lot of changes. We're working remote. We're utilizing freelancers for some of the work because many marketing departments are not only doing what they normally do, but on top of that, they're also having to respond to the coronavirus pandemic and how do you conduct business through that. So the workload has increased. So I see that firsthand at work. And so I know the opportunity is out there more than ever. So for students that are looking to capitalize on that, or, you know, maybe your day job isn't as interesting as it could be, but you're grateful that you have a job right now. Or even if you were furloughed or hours reduced or whatever, I think now is a great time to really put yourself out there online. If it's freelance writing that you want to do, then write. A great way to start writing is to write.
Great advice. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, it's pretty profound. It took me a while to figure it out, though. But I think that's what's so amazing right now is the gig economy is really having a moment, even before the pandemic happened too. There's a newsletter that I follow that is called the Gig Mindset. It's a weekly newsletter through LinkedIn, and it's written by this guy from ex-Googler, ex-Microsoft turned managing editor in chief of staffing.com. And like his whole job is to talk about remote working and freelancing and the gig economy. And his newsletter is awesome. His name is Paul Estes, Estes. And you can find him on LinkedIn and subscribe to his newsletter. There's like 80,000 people that are subscribed, I think.
It sounds like even though maybe this wasn't what 18-year-old you had envisioned, you're still getting essentially all the things that you ultimately wanted, which is the writing and the experience to be part of the process. Like you're getting all those things just in different ways.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not something I expected. Like I said, I wish I could say that, oh yeah, I knew I was going to write every day in my job. Like I had no idea. But yeah, it's turned out pretty full circle. And it was a lesson that I had to learn, to be a writer, you can just write. You don't have to have a degree in journalism. You don't have to be a reporter at the Boston Globe or something like that. And that's where I've kind of been able to grow my business and fill that creative void.
Um, so from what you've shared, writing really does, at least in your experiences, has been a core skill and a really important part of your career.
In marketing and as a writer, that one of the most important things for me is knowing the audience. That's like number one. So are you sending this email to executives that don't like your team, or are you talking to peers that are in a different department that may not speak your lingo? Or are you talking to like your inner team circle where you can kind of talk a little bit more freely maybe? Those all impact how you're going to communicate and maybe what you're going to say too. And then I also think, with remote working, there's been more chats, there's been more, project documentation of like, where's this, where's that? Because you can't just walk by the desk of that person and say, hey, how you doing? And have it
pop over
conversation. Yeah. So in that way, in current times, it's definitely super important, but I have found that I'm writing all the time. Email, text, chats, everything. So it's really important. Hallmarks of that is knowing who your audience is. And then I think another thing that's important is understanding any context around it or questioning anything that you're working on. Just send this email out and maybe you don't know everything about it. And you just send it out into the world and hope it works. More times than not, you'll get more questions and then all of a sudden you're the owner of the process and the project and you have to figure it out.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I think there's more opportunity to write out in the open right now. You have social media, anybody can start a blog. Not everybody should maybe, but the internet kind of gives you, and there are so many free services. There are so many opportunity to just put your thoughts out there. One thing that I know, so thinking from like the career angle of all of this, so writing for your career, when you send an email or apply for a job, you better believe the recruiter and the hiring manager, when they see your resume, they're Googling you. They're looking at you on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. They're looking at you on Twitter and Facebook and anywhere else that they can find you. So just making sure that what you put out there is what you want people to see. Also is a good way to make sure that you have that thought in the back of your mind when you're posting something, can also improve your writing and improve your career chances. And that also goes back to what I was saying. If you want to do some freelance work, put a website out there. I guarantee you almost every email that I send to people, I have it in the footer of my email. And
on purpose, right? So they'll look at it.
And I will tell you, at least 70% of the time, I will look on my analytics at night and I'll say, hey, you know what? I emailed those 3 people. That person was in Colorado. That person was in California. That person was in Washington State. And I have 3 looks in those areas. And that's just kind of cool too. And it's free.
You can speak so wonderfully to, from your experiences, you have been in a capacity where you have to learn a lot about businesses quickly to be able to effectively write for them and about them. So yep. How have you gone about really learning that information and being able to succinctly share that messaging?
That I think my journalism background helps me in that, because I can research and know what a good source is for sure. But for example, if I get somebody that's like, I need this by the end of the day, I have to figure it out. Hopefully I already know them and I have a relationship with them. Writing is so much a part of what a brand represents right now, what a company represents, that if the writing isn't on point, because it's what's talking directly to the consumer, if it's not correct, if it doesn't cover any lingering questions, you're going to lose them. So I think it's really important. So yes, came to us for social media. And what was really cool was the other two ladies on my team, they were asking some of the same questions. So it was kind of validating, which was nice.
How does writing fit into the job search process?
I think it's everything. Of course, I'm going to say that. I think that's my answer. Anytime you ask me a question, how does writing fit in? I'm like, it's the whole thing.
It's all there.
It's the most important thing.
From your argument, it's just in so many parts of our lives. Is there a quote or expression that you live by, or maybe a mantra that you use, and what is it?
Oh, that's funny. I have a lot, but one of them is just something that's kind of stuck with me. It's not a quote of anybody. It's just something that I tell people, and that I always kind of think, I don't even remember who first told it to me, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
It literally never does.
Right. Just ask.
Yeah, just ask, because a couple of examples. I mean, the example I gave with one of my new clients is I just asked, are you sure you just need social media? From what I'm gathering, I think there's more here.
Your LinkedIn talks a lot about this really cool initiative called Marketers in Pajamas. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this ties into what I was saying about taking my own advice to market myself as an expert in writing and marketing. And so one of my pieces of advice that I always give my clients is to create an experience or create a community around a common goal, common mindset, thought, be the source of that kind of community. And people are more likely to think of you as opposed to, buy my thing, buy my product. Yes, we're open for business. These are our hours, like sale, like people love sales, but it's really how you can set yourself apart, especially if you're in an industry where, you can't box up my marketing, so to speak. You can't box up my services, really. And it kind of creates that. So Marketers and PJs really started when we were working from home in the first couple of weeks of the lockdown with the coronavirus pandemic. And I was like, you know what? I really just kind of want to vent with my marketing friends. Because as a marketer, I mean, so many industries were having, everything just kind of blew up, I think. Healthcare and everything. Everything kind of changed. But from a marketing perspective, literally every single thing that we had planned for a year got blown out the door. And we had to turn, 3-4 months of planning into a new plan in like a week. And then while things were happening, so while, cases were rising in Allegheny County or Pennsylvania or the US, wherever, while that news is happening, you're still having to change what you're working on. Right. And, I talked to my coworkers about it. I actually started like a virtual coffee break for us to talk at the end of each week for a half an hour and just vent about the week because things were changing so fast. And I was like, why don't I have this? Like, I can't find this anywhere. So I created kind of a very easy virtual happy hour. The idea was to just, get a couple of my friends together to talk about a topic and, see what happens. And I remember IMing my assistant at like midnight because I just had the thought and I was like, hey, I think I'm going to start doing something. This virtual happy hour, I think it's going to be a thing. I will let you know. And he was like, well, that's ominous. But like 2 days later, I had 4 of my friends that I know through marketing that were like, yeah, let's talk about this. So let's drink wine and get on Zoom. And so I put it up there and I had 135 registrations.
Wow.
And I'm just like this person, like this is my basement in West Homestead, Pittsburgh, PA. Like I'm not even a company. Well, I am, but not really. I'm not. I don't even know, PNC or somebody.
Right, but
yeah. So I didn't even know it would be cool. I thought it would just be my friends. And what it turned into was we just had our 4th episode. After each episode, I create a blog post. I put links back to websites for, the people that join me. So if they have, their personal LinkedIn or their personal website or even their company, I've had, everybody's company that they work for has been like, yeah, we'll promote it on social media. That's awesome. And so that's been kind of cool. And then, it's built my social media audience. It's built my blog subscribers. It's built my
lots of benefits, kind of domino effect.
Yeah. And then from there, and one of my episodes I didn't even know any of the people that were panelists. I got it from, one person said, oh, so-and-so should be on this or so-and-so should be on this. And then when we all finally got on Zoom, I was like, so guys, nice to meet you. Welcome to my show.
We're meeting for the first time.
Yeah, thanks for joining me in my basement for some rosé. Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing. But yeah, so we just wrapped it up, our 4th episode. We're planning to take a little bit of a break for the holiday, but all of the blog posts are up on my website, and then we're hoping to launch our next episode around freelancing. It might be freelance
very timely, based on our conversation today.
Yeah, it might be freelancing in general, or it might be freelance writing. I'm going to try and get some of my freelancing friends to come and just talk about what it's like to freelance right now, because some people are super, their business is completely evaporated in this space, in this moment we're in right now. And some of my friends, and myself included, I've been inundated. So, how can we help each other and share the wealth and share our experiences so other people can know that, one, they're not alone, but also, what's worked for other people if they're looking for help.
Well, we will obviously link to all this, we will obviously link to what you've referenced here, because if folks want to learn more, we want to make sure they have the right place to go for more information. But thank you so much, Emily. It's been such a wonderful conversation, and thank you for helping us discover what's the point.